All right, we're live. Who do we have in the chat today? I see Jesse, or I'm sorry, Jackie's in the chat. Tony said he can't make it today, helping his friend move. Who else do we have in here? We're going to be doing some puzzles as a group, Puzzle Rush Survival, and seeing how high we can get. And also talking chess improvement too, like always. General chess questions will be welcomed. And I think what we'll do is we'll try to go quickly through the early puzzles, and then talk through the more difficult ones as a group. So it's going to be very interactive today. Put your answers in the chat. We see the first puzzle on the screen. Black just played rook to f4. Go ahead and put your answer right in the chat box when you're ready. Rook f4, what do we do? And I think it'll be nice to always have a good percentage of the live viewers confirming the same answer. So rook f4, obvious move is probably to capture the rook with rook takes f4. And we need to calculate what happens if black pushes the pawns. The other option, though, could be pushing this pawn straight away, allowing the capture, but that looks too dangerous. So rook takes f4. Does everyone agree? Correct. 189 rating. I feel like that one's just a guess. Okay, so this one's going to be, Jackie says, hey, this one's going to be a back rank puzzle. We're going to take, they can block with two pieces, and we can capture both of them. Another back rank puzzle. We can capture with the rook, they take back, we take back with the rook. That'll be forced mate. This one is going to be a checkmate in one move. Queen g8. So this one's interesting. White's trying to make room for their king. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll pause a little bit longer, Jackie. This one, White's trying to make room for their king. So what do we want to do? If you're just coming in, we're doing puzzles as a group. Put your answers right into the chat box. Rook d1. Yes, so our bishop guards h2. So this is another back rank. They can block with the queen, and then we capture. And one interesting thing about seeing these puzzles, welcome Franklin, is that it kind of teaches you what things happen in real games, because chess.com pulls these from real games. So again, we see a back rank theme, and this is super common, especially at the beginner level, but I've fell for multiple back rank mates just in the past few years of playing. So another back rank theme. This black king is trapped behind the pawns. Jonah, welcome. Queen takes f7. And Franklin's got it. Queen f8 next. Jackie's got it. Followed by the back rank. All right, we're at 6. Another back rank theme. That black king is trapped behind the 3 pawns. This one's even easier, but it's rated higher. Franklin with rook e8. Jackie, rook e8. Yes. Okay, finally not a back rank, but it is a checkmate in 1. And this is also common at the beginner level. Like you think of the fried liver opening. Queen f7 is a checkmate. Oh, what do you know? Same theme. Welcome, Norway. Queen F2. Correct, correct. Okay, we're at 9. Another mate in one theme. So sometimes there's multiple good-looking moves, and you have to figure out which one gets you the checkmate. Yes, Queen H5, defended by a rook. No moves for white. That puzzle was 606 rated. Another mate in one. What do we do here? Queen H2. Yep, that's correct. Queen H2. Norway, it's okay if you have the answer incorrect. Okay, what are we doing here? Franklin says Queen E5. Jonah and Jackie say Queen F7. Queen F7, that is a checkmate with the bishop defending. So it's that same theme. Franklin, I think you meant Queen F7. Queen F7, mate in one. Franklin, need new glasses. Okay, I feel like this one's getting a little bit trickier. We don't have the back rank mate, and we don't have a mate in one. So now that we're in the mid 700s for puzzle rating, not a mate in one, not a back rank. The idea is we have queen and rook both hitting G2. Yep, I see Jackie and Franklin both have it. So we're moving the bishop out of the way with a check. Oh, it ended a little early, but yes, the idea was queen takes G2 next. Welcome, Justin. Justin had the answer as well. All right, so now we're down the exchange, but it feels a little bit like a back rank theme. It's just not the immediate check on the back rank. So what do we do here? How do we set up that back rank mate? Or is there something better? Queen E8, followed by rook to B1. Okay, Queen E8. If king out, rook B1. I agree with that. But what if Queen E8, Queen D8? What if black blocks? Then are we taking the rook? So is the idea that we're not necessarily mating here, but we're winning this rook? Or this one is winning the B8 rook? What do we think? Queen E8? I don't see anything better. I kind of wanted to make something like this work, bishop G5, because I really want the rook on E8, but it's just too slow. Queen takes F2 check. So I agree. I think it is Queen E8. Win a rook at the minimum, Franklin says. Let's try it. Queen blocks. Now, is there anything else we can do here? Can we deflect this king? Can we throw in a check? The only checks involve our queen. Queen E6 check doesn't add anything that rook can block. Queen takes queen, doesn't gain anything, so we have to just grab the rook. Free rook, though. Yeah, if only we had a white bishop, that would have been nice. Okay, we're down one pawn. White king is out in the open. It's checkable. Always look for the checks, the captures, the threats whenever you have a puzzle. What do we want to do here? Maybe give me 2 moves in a row. Like tell me the black move, the white move, and then the black response. Jonah and Franklin both saying bishop G5. It's a check. The king has to move, and then knight d2 is a fork, king and rook. That looks good. Now I don't see anything better besides taking the rook. It'd be interesting if there was some trick here with like knight b3 followed by rook to the side mate, but the king would always be able to come back. So we just grab the rook. All right, we should be in the 900s now. Norway also got it. This puzzle highlights the power of the queen and knight working together. Queen and knight can work really well together because they move differently compared to, let's say, a queen and bishop or a queen and rook. Okay, Franklin's saying queen c2, followed by knight to d3. They're both checks. And then what's the third move? So queen c2, white has one reply. Knight d3, one reply. What's the third move? Queen f2. That's right, Jackie. So look at this. The knight creates this L-shaped check and also defends the mate square. That's a really nice use of the queen and knight combination. Okay, we're down a ton of material here. Down a rook and 3 pawns. You know, for the easier puzzles, you don't always have to count the material, but it is something that's nice to be aware of. We are down a rook and 3 pawns. But this king is very exposed, and we have a rook and bishop ready to attack. So what do we do? Franklin says rook g8 followed by bishop to f3. Jonah and Jackie confirm. That looks really good. So they just give away the rook. Bishop f3 mate. So here we are up the exchange. Rook for bishop. That white king is out in the open. Feels like a quick checkmate coming. But we need to be accurate. One thing that's nice in endgames, when you have your opponent's king out in the open, try to guard the squares behind the king and bring it down towards your pieces. If you can get that king to come towards your pieces, it's easier to create a mating net. And that theme plays a small part in this puzzle. I feel like it's not the main point of the puzzle, but something to keep in mind in endgames. Jonah's saying bishop c2, forced move king b4, and then rook a4 mate because our pawn defends this rook. Jackie has it as well. Good. All right, this one's out of the opening. Material is equal. Our bishop is being attacked, and it also pins the knight on c3. So it looks like the question is, which piece do we capture with on c3? Because we see it's only defended once, attacked twice. Are we going to use bishop or knight to capture on c3? Or is there another move? The knight on c6 defends this pawn, which is important. So there's no queen takes e5 with check. Okay, Franklin's saying, let's start with the knight takes knight, pawn takes, and then bishop takes, forking king and rook. Jonah and Jackie agree. Yes. So if you take with bishop first, you can kind of eliminate that quickly. Pawn takes, knight takes. At most, you just win one pawn. Knight takes immediately hits the queen. And after pawn takes, you take with the bishop forking. One thing that my mind thinks of, though, to be thorough is after knight takes, what about queen d2? And the idea is, if that knight moves, white wins the bishop. But I think the problem with that is this knight defends the bishop, so that knight on c3 probably can go somewhere else with a tactic, like knight e4. So I know the puzzle isn't really expecting you to look at that line, but higher rated puzzles will. So follow me on this. Knight takes c3. I think in a practical game, you have to really look at queen d2. Because the idea is if the knight just goes back, pawn takes bishop, right? You're not winning your rook in the corner like you thought. So knight takes c3, queen d2. I think the key move is with the knight guarding the bishop and the bishop potentially pinning the queen down to the king. I think the key move here is to attack the queen again with our knight on c3. So either knight to e4 or knight to b1. Because then the queen on d2 is pinned by our bishop, and there's no time to block with c3 or take the bishop because the queen still gets captured and the queen can't move. So we'll see. I don't think the computer will play queen d2 back, but that's something that you have to calculate. In addition to just saying, which capture is creating this fork. Okay, so they went with this line, and we win the rook. Now we should be in the 1100s. Material count, we are down one piece, but we have 3 pawns for it. So 3 pawns for a bishop. What do we think? 3 pawns for a bishop. Franklin coming in quick with rook c7, defended by the knight. And if you look at all the squares for the black king, no moves. It's actually a mate in 1. You don't see a lot of mate in 1s at the 1100 level for the chess.com puzzles. Okay, now we're down a queen, and we have a pawn for it. So we got to act fast. We have 2 protected passed pawns. We have a bishop up here, ready to help them out. How do we act quickly here, knowing that we're down the queen? If we can make our own queen with check, that should be very valuable. There's actually a tactic in this puzzle that reminds me of Searching for Bobby Fischer. Have you guys seen that movie? G7 check, King F7, G8 queen. If king takes F6, we have queen to H8, skewering the king to the queen. That theme is in Searching for Bobby Fischer in the championship match. So check, queen. They do let us show it. Skewer. Good job. Jonah and Jackie both had it. All right, this one's coming out of an opening. Material is equal. The king looks a little bit awkward on h2, but also pretty safe with these pawns. This knight is pinned down to our queen, also attacked by this knight. But this knight's attacked twice by our knight and queen. So what do we think? No checks in the position. Franklin's saying queen to b3. Jonah says queen b3. Jackie says queen b3. Julio, welcome. Queen b3. That looks good. Queen b3, because we're on their queen, so they don't have time to take our knight, and we just won a knight for free. So they're going one move deeper here. There's no safe squares for the knight except back to c5. Glad you could make it, Julio. Okay, and now we might as well take the bishop. That puzzle went 2 moves deeper than I thought it would, but it worked out. All right, what do we do here? We are equal on pawns, down a bishop. This king is very exposed. Julio is saying queen takes g2 checkmate, but their queen sneakily defends. And Julio just saw it too. This one feels a little closer to the back rank puzzles to me. I'm looking at that first rank. We take advantage of the first rank. Julio is saying maybe queen to e1 check. Queen e1, probably rook back to block. Jonah and Jackie are both saying rook d1. Yeah, so Julio, I think rook blocks after queen e1. Rook d1 looks correct. If the bishop blocks, queen g1 mate. If the rook blocks after rook d1, we take the rook with check, bishop takes, and queen g1 mate. So I think the idea is we're just trying to set up queen g1 mate, and we're using the rook first to deflect their g2 bishop, whether it moves right away or it's after this rook trade. So mate in 3. Nice work. All right, this one is kind of crazy looking. We are down 2 pieces. Pawns are equal. We're down a bishop and a knight. Black is setting up some sort of discovered check, double check on our king. This rook is also attacked by the knight. So what do we do here? This rook is also loose in the corner, which I just noticed. Maybe that's part of the solution. You look at everything else and it's like, oh, hey, free rook in the corner. With check? I mean, free rook with check. That's hard to beat. I think we have to look at it. Queen takes rook check. King moves. Looks like Jonah has it. And now queen c8. That's a checkmate. And if queen takes rook, queen blocks, we take. That's a checkmate. So I think your eye is drawn to the discovery and also the potential of queen e7, queen d7 mate. But the solution is, don't forget, there's this rook hanging. Yeah, so moving the bishop allowed knight to d3, discovered check. Welcome, Vivek. It looks like queen takes rook. Kind of the sneaky move. You don't really see the rook hanging in the corner like that. All right, this one we are down a queen, but we have a rook for that queen. And the white king is open, blocked by pawns. It looks like another back rank theme. Classic. It's interesting because when we're beginners at chess, we learn about the back rank and we see how common it is. Win with the back rank, lose with the back rank, usually losing when we first start. And then players are taught, oh, you should always play like h3 when your king is castled. Make that little square for your king to escape. But then at a certain point, you realize that sort of advanced beginners, early intermediates are pushing pawns to make room for their king when they should develop. And then you have to go back and find that balance of don't always make that escape square for your king. Okay, we got some answers here. Franklin, Jackie, Jonah, all the same solution. That's correct. Rook e1 check. They have to block. Now bishop to d4 check. They can sack their bishop, doesn't help. King to the corner, and the back rank mate. Here's an endgame. We have a pawn 1 square from promoting. We're in check. We're down 2 pawns. They have a pawn 1 square from promoting. They want to take this pawn. So to me, the solution looks pretty obvious, unless I'm missing something. But if we have to move our king, and there's 4 options, only one of which defends this strong pawn. I mean, this pawn is going to be our key to winning the position, I would think. Don't we just want to play king up, and then promote? What do you guys think? King d6? I don't see any reason to move the king anywhere else. Julio agrees. Jonah agrees. Okay. King d6, king g6. So now do we go forward with the plan? Do we play king d7 and try to promote? Or is there something better? Because what black is going to do, and these are hard to calculate, black is probably going to play king f5. We promote. They're going to sack their rook. King takes. And then it gets messy. Because they take this pawn, we take, and there's a bunch of pawns against our remaining rook. So one thing that has to be calculated here, I think, is rook takes g2. Waldes, welcome. So I think that's the question here. We need to calculate this. Is it better to play rook takes g2? They take and queen. Or is it better to move the king up and go for a queen? To me, I think rook takes g2 looks easily the cleanest because I'm not clear if this is even winning. Black just has too many pawns coming at us against their lone rook. So let me know in the chat, do we think rook takes g2? It's a check, so black has to take, then promote. The critical move, I think, has to be rook to d2, checking us. Because if we move to the c file, they're going to play rook c2, winning the queen. We move here, and then there's no more good checks. We have a queen for rook, and we still have this pawn on the board. That should be winning. Okay, everyone's agreeing. Rook takes g2, remove the guard, promote. And now we don't want to step in front of the queen. King e7, it's a win. That one was a bit tricky. Rook takes g2 instead of trying to go promote the pawn first. Okay, this one we are equal on material. Same number of pawns. Queen, rook, minor piece. White just moved their king. The king is out in the open. King out in the open. It's going to cause some tactical issues. We have a couple good-looking checks. Queen to e2 check. Rook to g8 check. Both look pretty good. This pawn is also hanging. But our bishop is hanging. What do we think? Julio says open G file looks important. So we need to calculate both options. Queen e2 check, rook g8 check. There's one square that looks really strong for the white king in terms of stopping the checks from our queen. And actually, this might be something useful for you guys if you're still trying to figure out the solution. What's the best hiding square for the white king? In terms of no good checks from our queen or from our rook. Where does the white king want to go? Waldes is saying queen e2 is the solution. I agree with that solution. I think queen e2 is the answer. Because after rook to g8 check, there's a nice hiding square for the white king. King f2. And the problem with their king on f2 is we don't have any good-looking checks. Bishop e3, captured. Queen has no open checks that aren't covered. And the rook has no open checks that aren't covered. So do you guys agree? Queen e2 check. Final answer. And the idea is any move, we have another good follow-up with rook or queen. King g3, Rook G8, King H3, we take the knight with check. King H1, take the knight. Oh, Queen guards the knight. I did miss that. Queen guards the knight. Queen E2, King H3, maybe the answer there is Queen F1. We're trying to walk him to the G file for our rook to come over. Okay, the chat is still thinking. That's probably good. Let's think on this a little bit. Waldez, can you give me a longer line after Queen E2 if you still feel that's right? Queen E2, Queen F1, Queen G2 is what Jackie's saying. Queen E2, Rook G8. Okay, so that's interesting. I like this idea. Queen E2, if the king moves, maybe we go Rook G8. It's not even a check. And then if knight to G5, we could take their queen, and there's no knight F7 or anything like that because it's guarded. Okay. Queen E2. We have multiple Queen E2s. Waldez and Jackie. Let's go for it. King G3. I think they made it a little easier on us. Now Rook G8. Solution. Sometimes they don't make you calculate everything out because they just show the one line, the forced line. But that was good to look at everything. Okay, this one's simpler, I think. This looks like a mate in 2 or 3 moves. It's pretty close to mate. I see a mate in 3. 1, 2. Yeah, mate in 3. A fit pawn, welcome. Franklin and Waldez both say Queen G3 check, followed by Queen G2. Yeah, in Queen G3, if the king goes to F1, we check here first, and then Queen G2. Jackie agrees. Mate. All right, we're in the mid 1500s now. We are down a ton of material. The rook is hanging, though, and the knight's also attacked with check. I see a mate in 2. I think this one's trying to distract us from the mate in 2. It's trying to make us take material. But checkmate in 2, that's always going to be better. Waldez says Queen G2 check. King goes over. Pawn F2 mate. That's the line I was looking at too, Waldez. Jonah agrees. Let's go for it. Jackie agrees. We are up the exchange, but white does have 4 extra pawns. Okay. This king is out in the open. This puzzle, I don't know how this is a 1600, to be honest. I don't know what the trick is. Are most people playing Queen B2 check? Yeah, you guys are right. Queen A2 is mate. Mate in 1. All right, we should be upper 1600s now, maybe 1700. We are down a bishop and 3 pawns. It's feeling like a back rank mate style puzzle. We have 2 attackers. One of them is a pawn. One is the queen. pawn and queen, two attackers. Franklin is saying take g3, king goes back, queen e1 check, bishop has to block, queen f1 is a mate. Waldes agrees. That looks good. So we're using this pawn to force the king back. Everyone agrees. Good. Okay, we have 31 points. Why is our king on f6? I have no idea, but their king also looks open. Feels kind of like a back rank puzzle. The king may have an escape route though. So let's see, what do we do? We're down a minor piece. Pawns are equal. Queen d1 check feels like the move we have to consider here first. Bishop c4 check is another option. But queen d1 forces blocking with the knight. That's a nice aspect of queen d1. Because then we could follow up with bishop c4 check. They move their king over to g1. We can take the knight for free. King h2. Does anyone have that whole line? If you have one more move after king h2, I think that solves it. What do we do after king h2 in that position? So queen d1, knight blocks, bishop c4, king g1, queen takes e1 check, king h2. Try to calculate it all. What do we do there? Yeah, Vivek and Julio both just got it. Queen e5 check in the end, forking that king on h2 and the rook in the corner. Jonah has it as well. Good. So here we go. Queen d1. It's really fun when you get one of these in a game scenario, and you get to play out everything that you just calculated. Oh, they're trying to bait us into taking this pawn with check. What do you guys think? Do we take the pawn or do we take the rook? It feels like we can take the pawn and still get the rook. That's the confusing part to me. Is it too greedy? Julio says the rook. I don't think we need to be afraid of any attack from white if we take the rook. Because queen c6, we block with the bishop. And our queen defends the diagonal. Waldes says take the pawn and make a draw. Well, we're up a rook if we take their rook. Vivek says queen takes f4 might allow some sort of rook f1 counterplay. Franklin's saying take the pawn and continue the attack. That is tempting. Okay, we need a consensus though. Queen takes f4. I feel like the problem with queen takes f4 is pawn to g3. Maybe. Waldes with the perpetual check. Okay, Julio says go for the rook. We don't want their queen. Yeah. It lets their queen and rook get involved. We're up a whole rook in this case, and I don't see a checkmate or any real additional material besides the one pawn, which I'm not even sure we want because of their pieces maybe getting more involved. So do we agree, take the rook? Put your answer in the chat, rook or pawn. If anyone thinks pawn still, I think we got to calculate a little more. Because there's probably a good defense for white. Oh, it is g3. Okay. I think I can shut this down. g3, queen f2 check, queen g2. That's the problem. White's going to block all the checks. What happened? Didn't we all think rook? Did I mouse slip? I thought I took the rook. Oh boy. How did that happen? We'll have to look at it when we're done. Oh, I thought that was an easy take the rook. I thought we checked all the bases there with pawn g3 block. Or was it not take the pawn? Oh, man. I don't know. Yeah, Julio, good point. We need an expert. Southern Run just jumped in for the blunder. We were jinxed. We all thought Southern Run it was take the rook. All right. We got 2 more strikes still. We are down 1 pawn. Both kings are a little exposed. This pawn is capturable with check. Rook to b2 pins the queen down to the king. So here's our only good-looking check. This move also looks strong. White's going for some kind of perpetual or checkmate down here against our king because we're boxed in. So rook to b2 pins the queen down, but white does have a perpetual. Rook b2 allows the draw. So I don't think rook to b2 is the answer. You might be right, Vivek, on that last puzzle. We'll for sure look at it when we're done. Yeah, I agree. Queen g5 looks better here. That's what Waldez is saying. So queen g5, like let's say king h2. We could always play rook to b2 as a deflection tactic. Take the rook this way, but it does allow queen takes b7, I guess. Oh, I just saw something. Okay, I don't want to spoil it for you guys. Queen takes g5 check. King h2. There's a really strong move there. Let me know what you guys think. I just spotted it. Jackie, I'm not sure what you mean by g4. Because their queen can't get to g4. I think they're going to go king h2. Waldez has the move I was looking for. Look at this. We take g5. They don't want to go to the first rank because our rook comes in. King h2 and queen g3 check. If king h1, our rook drops back. And after queen g3 check, if they take, we take with the pawn and it's a check. And the rook drops in the end. Okay, that's what you meant, Jackie. Good. So we're going to take with check. Queen g3, key move. Take that with check, and then win the rook. All right, we're back. 32. Down a knight. Pawns are equal. King is very exposed. There's a lot going on here, and somehow this puzzle is rated 1800. This could be the highest rated mate in one that we see today. Queen to h1. That's a checkmate on the spot. 1800. Okay, you're going to tell me that puzzle that we got wrong was 1732. We just had a mate in one at 1808, and now we have... Okay, this one's not a mate in one, though. We're in check. Rook h1 could be a mate, but we're in check. I thought it was going to be another mate in one. I got so excited to complain. All right, so how do we block this check? Or do we move the king? We have to keep an eye on this bishop cutting through and potential rook to d1 check if we move our king over. I think we can rule out knight block that drops a knight. I think we can rule out king over because rook check defended by the bishop. Queen block, I think we can rule that out because there's this bishop check trying to deflect our queen. Might be messy. Well, maybe we can't quite rule that out. Queen check. We block, rook comes over. Yeah, I don't think we want to allow that. Do we run the king this way? The only check I see is queen to b8. We come out this way. Oh, but then there's queen takes e5 check. This one's definitely not a mate in one. No one has put any answers yet. Okay, let's think about this. Oh, Julio is saying, and Waldez agrees, we can block the b8 check with the knight, and our queen defends it. So king over, queen check, knight blocks. And there's no queen d6 check our knight would take. Queen up here check, I think we can run the king away. And we're still threatening our mate in one, and this rook's not in the game. I agree with that. Do you guys agree? So we're going to go king f8. If queen blocks, we block with knight. We're on a dark square so that bishop can't check us. The rook can't check. And we're still threatening our mate. Everyone agree? King f8, knight c8. Julio and Waldez. Okay, Jackie agrees. Nice find on the knight c8. That was the key to the puzzle. All right, we're down a rook, but we have connected passed pawns, and this king is very checkable. Yeah, everyone's afraid to vote now. We're past that puzzle. That's 1732 we got wrong. That's in the past. So we could check with bishop here, or we could check with pawn. They're both tempting. Now, usually what I try to do on these sort of puzzles or positions, I try to keep the pawns on the opposite color of the bishop. So, for example, if we were to check with the pawn first, and the king goes to the dark square, we put our pawns on dark, bishop on light next. If we start with bishop on light and they move their king, I don't see a follow-up check. We would love to jump that pawn up too. but it's not there immediately. So my instinct would be check with this pawn, knowing that we have a pawn check on the dark squares, and if they go to a light square, then we check with the bishop. So like if check here, you don't go pawn check, you go bishop check. Get that king to go to a dark square, and then check with the pawn and queen. So it feels like the pawn check right away is the solution. But what do you guys think? Is there any reason it wouldn't be pawn check first? Sort of looks like we're promoting. Pawn check, king d1. Afraid of rook c4 check. Okay. Bishop will prevent the rook check. So I'm thinking here we could check with our bishop next. And if pawn blocks, then push this pawn. And if rook check, king here hitting the rook, this is still attacked. We're about to queen. I think inserting the bishop check helps though, because this pawn does a nice job defending c3. So there's kind of this rook check back and forth if our king gets stuck on these two squares. Okay, Waldes is saying check with this, taking c4 first. Oh, here's what I don't like though, Waldes. If check, king back, we don't have a check here. Pawn push. If white was desperate here, they could play rook takes e3 check. And after we take, they check with the bishop and they're going to hold this square. It's a draw. So white has the option of drawing if we do this, followed by pawn push. But I think if we check here first, here, check right away again, here, push, there's no way they can stop that pawn from promoting, I think. Yeah, passed pawns must be pushed, is what Jackie's saying. I think it has to be f3 check. I'm 95% sure. King d1 is the critical test. And then I think we insert this bishop a4 check. Okay, let's go with this. Do we like bishop a4 check right here? Because in this position, there's no rook sack. We could push the pawn. The rook sack would lose for white. But there is this move, rook c4 check. If we move our king over here, they can check here. I mean, that still looks good for us. That's the confusing part. King up, though, maybe. And if we check, take, and then they're going to sack the rook for that pawn. I don't think it's f2 now because of this rook check. And the rook's going to come behind our pawn. I think it's bishop a4 check. Is that crazy? I think we want to promote. So anytime the king comes here, then yeah, we're going to go bishop b5. So the question is, does this add anything? Bishop a4 check. So one nice thing about this move is if the king moves over, this pawn push could become even stronger too. But I don't know if this adds anything. King over, push, rook check. King comes in. Is there a reason to have this bishop on c6 versus a4? Bishop b5 right away. Okay, let's see. I think they can get away with the rook sack line here. Check. King takes. Bishop check. The king has to move backwards. And then if they need to, they could bring the king over. Yeah, Walda says the rook sack is still existing. So do we insert bishop a4 check? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Alec, welcome. Bishop a4, pawn b3. And then we were thinking, go for this. Oh, there's a problem with that line. Rook sack, take, bishop check, king moves. And you could actually sack the bishop there. Because the... Well, no, then we take that pawn with check. Never mind. Vivek is saying if we push f2, what could go wrong? Well, I think push f2, rook takes. Or no, sorry. Push f2, not rook takes. Rook c4. And if king here, what I don't like in that line is we want to put our king here, I think. And then the rook comes right back with check, defended by the pawn. That's why I like the bishop a4 check, because either their pawn is up and the rook cannot come back, or their king is over and we could actually move our king in to e2. So I think bishop a4 gets them to do one of these two moves. And I think that gains us something in the rook c4 check response to f2. So if we play here right away, check, here, check again, their king guards this square. And if we go this way, I think they could play bishop here. Is that right? We could then insert bishop check still. Maybe that is better. Maybe that's Just straightforward. Pawn push, check, here, check, here. Oh, okay, I already forgot about this line from earlier. What if here? And if we check, they take this pawn, and when we queen, rook takes that pawn. So we'll win the rook, but the rook is able to they get both of our pawns in return. No, so I think in that line, Waldez, after the check, we're taking this first pawn. And then when we promote, they take with the rook. And then if we take back, it's bishop and 2 pawns each. It's going to be a draw. I think this is the line that could cause us a problem. Push, check, here, check, here, king comes up. I don't know how we make progress in that position. Okay, Vivek has a line. F2, rook c4 check, king d3, rook c3, king d4. I think maybe bishop c5. I see what you're saying, though. There's still, like, this bishop wants to come over here. Maybe that's it. Here, check, here, check, back. Because we can't play king e2 due to the bishop check on b5. Yeah, and after bishop c5, you're tucking your king on d5. Interesting. And there's always that bishop b5 check lingering if king e2. Okay, Waldez, this could be it. This could be it. So if check here, sorry, here, check, here. There's no rook behind because of this pawn check and queen. So that's the benefit of this versus going to f3. Originally, we were afraid of this perpetual check, but now we're saying it's not a perpetual check because we come to this new square, d4, and from there, there's no good checks for white. And the sacrifice doesn't work. They can't stop this pawn. King up doesn't work because of bishop check. followed by promote. That looks pretty good to me. Bishop a4 check must not be anything useful. I guess the thing is, I don't know why bishop a4 check is bad. Like, that bothers me a little bit. Because these puzzles are set up so there's only one move that can be correct. I don't know what's wrong with bishop a4. So in terms of like puzzle solving technique, I feel a little unsure if we should just go with f2 without proving bishop a4 check wrong. But f2 does look good to me. I feel probably 80 or 90, somewhere 80 to 90% sure that it's f2 at this point. And the biggest doubt that I have is, why not bishop a4 check? What's so bad about that? Julio's saying, in a real life game, what would you do? Well, early on, I liked bishop a4 check. So if I didn't have a lot of time, I probably would have played that already. You know, in like a game where I had maybe 2 minutes to think, I like the look of bishop a4 check. That's what my instinct says. Okay, Jackie, so bishop a4 check, b3, and then f2. I feel like it adds to the strength of f2. Because now rook c4 check, king d3. I mean, we're threatening the pawn check with mate. There's not even rook c3 as an option. So white literally has no checks there. That's what I like about it. But what I'm unclear on is bishop a4 check. Maybe white goes king c1, and it benefits white somehow to have the king on c1. So bishop a4 check, king c1 here. Check here. Come behind the pawn. Maybe that's the problem line. They come behind the pawn there. So we don't get this pawn move with check and queening in that line with the king over on c1. I think king c1 is the problem with bishop a4 check. Okay, let me look at this line. Vivek says bishop a4 check, b3, f2, rook takes e3, king takes e3, bishop c5 check. But here's the problem with that line. If we move the king over, we're about to promote. So they have to take this pawn. But then we go bishop takes b3, check. The king can attack the bishop. Oh, but it can defend its own bishop. Okay. Yep, that's convincing. That line will be a draw. I missed that. So I think we can rule out bishop a4 check. And it's possible that both of those lines are good for white. b3 or king c1. All right. So are we in agreement? We're going with f2 here, and that I just made things way too complicated with the bishop a4 check. I think you're right, Vivek. I think that's a drawing line. Okay, f2, f2. Let's go with it. Rook takes check. Yeah, this is going to just be bad for white. They can sack their bishop for the pawn, but then we're up the whole bishop, and that'll be winning. Julio says we're getting into time trouble. All right, 35. What's going on here? We're down a bishop for a pawn. Our pawns are going up the board. This pawn is close to queening, but when it pushes, we can always come back. Waldes says g5. I think you probably mean pawn g6, Waldes. Oh, this game is going to really date me, but it's going to make me sound old. But has anyone played the variant on ICC, Internet Chess Club, called Wild 7? Has anyone played Wild 7 before? Have you heard of this before? They had a whole bunch of different variants, and they had numbers, and they were called like Wild and then a number. Has anyone played Wild 7 before? No? Wild 7 was a fun, really fun game, and this was before engines were super strong. So it was hard to even use an engine to figure it out, which kind of sounds crazy. But here's what Wild 7 was. White had a king on d1 and pawns on these three squares. Black had a king on e8 and pawns on these three squares. And that was the game. And what you would do is each king would try to run over and stop the enemy pawns. But then you had this race where you'd get in Zugzwang, where the pawns would lock up the king, and then eventually one king had to move, and then there'd be a few pawn moves, and then the king would try to lock up the pawns again. So it was this interesting dynamic of locking up your opponent's pawns and trying to keep your pawns fluid. Super interesting game. One of the key takeaways from that game was this formation that we're looking at here. If you have pawns that are separated with a file in the middle, so here we have F and H, they work really well when one gets ahead of the other. Because then what they do is they cut off the squares for the opposing king. Right? So if this king's on F7 and our pawn's on H7, that's already a queen. There's this nice formation where the pawns cut off the king. Just two pawns can do it. So that makes me think that this immediate H-pawn push is winning. H-pawn push, it doesn't matter where their king goes, we push again, and we're actually cutting off the king. And this bishop's out of play, and we know we have the pawn push stopped. It looks like Waldes and Yona agree. Vivek, ICC never changes anything, so I assume it's still there. It's called Wild 7. I wonder if... wonder if there's any sort of like website on it. Doesn't seem like it. Oh, here I see a Reddit post on it. I don't know if this will show up in the screen share. Let's try it. The sizing's wrong. But here it is. I think you can kind of see it now. This was the game though. It's from 1840, white to move and win. Yeah, this is fun. I mean, it would actually be fun So people would do Wild 7 tournaments even back in the day. It would be fun to do a tournament like this, especially OTB, and just see what people come up with. And maybe tell them like, hey, no checking the engine. But even if you analyze some engine lines, it's still not super clear because there's some different tricks you can throw at your opponent. All right, let's go with h6. I see multiple people agreeing. h6, I don't really even see any way for this bishop to get back and help. Like if here, h7, and if they take, we still have the 2 pawns. h6, bishop here, we push. If they take, let's see, h6 here, push, take, queen. Okay, here we have to bring our king back. h7, cutting their king off, and that's it. Yeah, Julio, that's nice to have those kind of endgame practices in your mind. Okay, black has 2 connected passers on the 3rd rank. We have a pawn on b7, though. Rook to a8 is the move they want us to be looking at. I mean, rook a8 is threatening mate in 1. They can't capture us. They have no checks. Is there a trick? We'll probably go rook f8. And then maybe it's the next move that's hard to spot. That's probably what it is. So rook a8, I think they're going to go rook f8, and then can you guys tell me the next move? There's a really strong next move. Waldez is wondering, is rook c6 better? Oh, I don't know. No, I don't think so. Here's why. Rook c6, h6, rook check, king out. Rook takes rook. So now it's black to move. They can push a pawn. And even though we can check, I think they can run out. The problem is we queen and then black queens. Sorry. And I think that's fine for black. But if rook a8 and black tries the same line, we take with check, king moves, we have the same position, but black hasn't pushed a pawn yet. So there, I think we can go rook h8 check, king runs out, queen. Black still doesn't have a pawn in the 2nd rank. So rook a8, I think rook f8's the critical line. And then it looks like you guys have it. b8 queen is the next move, threatening the mate again. Queen takes f8. And they can't take us because rook takes mate. Yep, Walda's definitely good to look at. Okay, I'm feeling confident, and it looks like you guys are confirming. Rook a8. Oh, g5. Okay, we have to take. Now here, do we play rook g8? Can you confirm in the chat? Rook g8? Is there any reason not to go rook g8? Rook c8, I think d2 is the problem. We're allowing black to queen. Okay, king f2 is interesting. I think the problem with king f2, though, it's tricky. So if d2, our king comes over. That looks good for us. But king f2, I think c2, and then when our rook tries to block, now d2. And black's going to get a queen. Because the rook is too clumsy. When it takes, black promotes. So king f2, I think, is too slow due to c2. Yeah, we're going to just check. We're going to promote with check if we can. That's the answer. All right, we're up to probably 2,100 now. Only one strike. We're down 2 pawns. Guys, another mating net. Question for you guys in the chat. Who has looked at the practical endgame course, the ChessGoals practical endgame course? Who has worked through that course already? Or started it at least? This is something that would come straight out of that course. It's another endgame mating net where you need to play actively. This king only has one square to go backwards. And knight f1 check guards h2. So in a game, I'm immediately looking at this. And if you go back a couple moves from this position, I would be trying to set this up. Because once that king moves towards us, then we can start to use our pawns to help attack it. Yeah, knight f1 check Julio pushes the king towards our pawns. It's got to be knight f1 move number 1. Okay, knight f1 check. We have agreement here. I think we can just play this one safely. Now, our only check is pawn to g5. But when you have a mating net, you don't always go for the check first. Oftentimes it's nice to have the setup move with the check being a threat of checkmate. So we should definitely look at g5 as the only check, but keep in mind that usually you want to sort of set up the checkmate first. And white doesn't really have any counterplay here. There's no checks for white. There's no attack on our king. So we do have some time. Let's look at this though. So g5 check. What if king h5? Knight g3 check. I feel like they can come back, ready to take our knight. And their knight guards g2, so there's no rook takes g2 there. G5 check doesn't feel right for that reason. Oh, I don't think this is even a mating net. Yeah, Vivek is saying the line that I was looking at. Knight e3 hits the rook. And the rook is defending the knight. So let's say rook c1. Now there's this cool tactic. Rook takes knight. And when they take back, knight takes g2, fork, king and rook. So we win the pawn and the knight for free. That's got to be it. Okay, Waldes agrees. Let's go for this. I feel pretty confident. So knight e3. They have to move the rook. We take the knight. They might as well take. We go for the fork, win the rook. Very nice tactic, Vivek. All right, equal material. Our king feels pretty exposed on the c-file lined up with their rook. Their king is in a funny spot, though. This is a 2100 puzzle. Anastasia seems to be peeking out, according to Julio. Vivek agrees. All right, so we're going queen takes h7 check. King takes. This knight is ready to come here checking on g8 or g6. So takes, king takes, rook check. King g8 gets mated by the knight. King g6, knight check. Only move, king g5, and then what's the final move there? What's the final move in that position? Waldes f4. Correct. Jackie f4. Nice find, guys. Check, 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 checkmate. What is this? I almost feel like they strategically give us a few quick ones sometimes after a couple tough ones. Because I don't know how this is a 2100 puzzle. Yeah, Waldes. Queen h7. So somehow people are distracted. I don't know though. If you're already at 2100 puzzles, I don't see how you don't find this. We're not in check. You just take and mate. Equal material. Their king is in a funny spot. Near our pawns on light squares, or get our bishop on dark squares. All their pieces in the middle are defended. This pawn is free though. It doesn't feel like a tactical solution to take that pawn, but sometimes they like to trick you. And a move like that could be the answer. Free pawn. Do you just take it? Okay, bishop a5 check. This is the really tempting move. And then Waldes is saying b6 push next. But what about king takes a6? I don't see any follow-up for us there. Now, so if we put our bishop on a5 check, king a7, if we don't have a strong follow-up there, then I think we might as well take the pawn right here. I guess what I'm unclear on is how strong is black's play after bishop takes pawn. Because it does maybe allow some counterplay with e3 coming. Oh, I think after e3 we can get away with taking the knight. If e2, the bishop can come back to c3 to sacrifice, and we'll have a strong rook and the passed pawns. And after taking the knight, if they take this pawn, I think we can take the f pawn, defending the queening square and attacking their pawn. So here, I don't think e3 is a problem. Rook over doesn't really seem like a problem to me either. I think we could actually, maybe we just come back. I think you're right, Julio. It's like the odds of people just putting a different solution on those mate in 1 and 2s. Okay, so what do we think? Bishop takes g7? We go for it? I think that's the solution. I need confirmation in the chat, though. Oh, wait, we got a new idea from Vivek here. Bishop a5, king a7, bishop c7. I think, though, after b6 check, there's still king takes a6. But maybe the idea is, are we bringing the king up next? Yeah, king up and b6 coming up. Okay, I kind of like this idea from Vivek. Check here, bishop c7, and we're going for king up, followed by check. And black doesn't really want to do anything in the middle because if that knight moves, our rook can enter. And pawn push, we could take the knight and enter with the rook maybe. Okay, I think you're right, Vivek. I didn't look at this option with bishop c7. That looks really strong. Because after here, if they try to attack the bishop, I think we still just go king a5. And if they take, we fork them with check. So it's happening no matter what black tries. Can we get some agreement? We're going bishop a5 check and bishop c7. That looks like the answer to me. Okay. Fingers crossed. Now I think we go ahead with king a5. There's no checks for black. Rook takes us the fork. Do we agree king a5? This looks pretty good. Jackie says yes. Why is the puzzle going so deep? Okay, I think we have to take. A7 check, we lose both pawns. Good. Great work, Vivek. I was ready to pull the trigger on queen takes b7. Or g7, I mean. Sorry, bishop takes g7. I think I'm getting tired of puzzles. Okay, 41 points. We're in the upper 2200s now. Down a bishop and a rook. We do have an extra pawn. And a white king out in the open. My instinct is to play queen here check. Kind of that same theory of keeping the king defended from coming backwards. I do really like that idea. You know, because if they block with the bishop, we can hit him with a pawn check, king over, and then mate, because their own bishop is blocking their king. Check. So that looks forced. King over. I mean, that's got to be a mate for us too. Check. King here, mate. Okay, sorry, I kind of just solved that puzzle, I think, without the chat. But do we agree queen f3 check? Not allowing that white king to retreat to the fourth rank? Okay, Waldez, Julio, yes, yes. All right, let's go ahead. Let's do it. So now there's no mate in one. Queen h3, king e4. I think we got to just do g6. King over, and then mate. All right, that was 2292. We're down one pawn. White king is a little bit exposed, but not really that weak. Oh, wow. Okay, I think I see it. Put your answers in the chat. In 42 puzzles, or however many it's been, 43, 42, we have not seen this theme yet. Vivek is saying, is that a trapped rook? Yeah. G5, trapped rook puzzle. Okay, Waldez is saying, but calculate G5. Is there anything we need to look at here, Waldez? or anyone else. Because once you see g5, it looks too obvious. Or I mean, it looks obvious, I should say, not too obvious. Is there anything we need to consider? I don't think so. I think it's just g5. Okay, Walda says it's clear. When Walda says go ahead, then we go ahead. All right, 43 points. We are down 3 pawns. You're down 3 pawns. A pawn for black is a bit scary. Feels like some sort of deflection or back rank mate. For example, if we were able to trade rooks and just plant our queen on one of these squares, that's a win. But the problem is going to be this pawn is coming very quickly. So we need something better. Happy's asking, will you play with me right now after this game? I think we'll wrap up after the puzzles. No games. Okay, 2 players said queen a8. That looks good. This rook is double attacked and pinned on the back rank. Nice work. Julio and Vivek. Oh, Walda said it too. Yep. Material count equal. Black has a rook a1 check idea, but right now our knight can block it. Our knight is attacked. We have some sacrifice potential here. Walda says rook sack and queen e6. What do we do after king to the corner, though? Queen here, rook g8. And queen h7. Guarded by the bishop. Rook sack. King over. Julio says, yes, the rook looks ready to go down like a hero. Rook sack does look really good to me. Bishop sack feels a little slow, and I don't think we need it. Just because with that queen on g6, we're threatening queen h7 and queen g7 mate with the help of this bishop. All right, do we agree with rook sack? Jackie says yes. Here we go. Any reason to insert h7 check? No. We got to check with the queen. Okay, good. The rook. Thank you, Gotham Chess, for the inspiration. Okay, we're in an opening. Looks like a Sicilian dragon, like straight out of book theory. Loose bishop on c4 really jumps out at me. Can we take advantage of that? Knight takes d4. Queen takes, defending the bishop. I think we have a good follow-up there. What do we do in that position? We gotta go one move deeper. Bishop b5. I think it's a knight move. I think we want to open up this bishop against their queen. Yeah, Vivek, I think that's correct. I think it's knight g4. So our bishop's on the queen, our knight's on this bishop, and our rook's on this bishop. So the queen gets overloaded. Yep, Waldes, you got it. So take, knight g4. Okay, they gave us the queen. Okay, so we're in check. The bishop attacks the queen. This is 2,500 puzzle. But there's this discovered check in the air. I mean, I don't think we're playing queen e1 because there's still just the discovered check. So the question is, do you play king e2 here? Maybe. It looks crazy. I have trouble believing that's the answer. Maybe. Because if queen c2 check, that bishop can come back and block. But I mean, how bad can this be? Just taking. If their knight moves somewhere, we could always play queen f3 to block their check. And we're getting a rook back for the queen. And then if they move king f7 in the end, we can always take their bishop if our rook is trapped. Yeah, okay, Vivek agrees. Waldes agrees. Queen. Oh, interesting. Queen f2 is also a move. After queen f2 if they take, we take, it does allow them to check us. We block. And then king f7. I don't understand how these moves are that much different. I mean, I think it's queen f3, but I don't fully understand what the point is. It must be that black can gain an extra pawn or two if we go queen f2. Is that right? Oh, it might be queen f2. Hold on. Yeah, Vivek. g4 traps the horse. Okay, so queen f2, rook takes, king takes. If they go king f7, we take, and g4 traps the knight. And queen f2 takes, bishop check. The nice thing there is we can block, and after king f7, we can go rook d6, and their bishop's not on that square. So I think it's queen f2. Yeah, Waldes says, wow. And then it was going to be g4 next, trapping their knight. This position looks crazy. We're in check. If knight takes back, we get mated. I think we only have one move. King g8. We have to go king g8, right, guys? No other move, says Waldes. I was wondering if it's one of those ones where for some reason it's not a mate. You know, like, is there some weird defense that's happening? Okay, we have to go king g8. Now what? King f8 allows a perpetual. King h8 allows, well, they can take our queen either way. King f8 also allows knight takes h7 check. I don't love that. King h8, the knight guards f7, so I don't think there's really ever a smothered mate. Yeah, Vivek is saying we have so many pieces for the king, for the queen. My gut tells me it's king h8. Let them take our queen, we take back. And then we just say, yeah, we have a rook and two bishops. And a pass b pawn and an extra e pawn. That's a lot of material for the queen. So we don't want the draw. With king f8, there's a perpetual. Right? We know at a minimum, white can just check and go right back. So we're trying to win, and king h8 looks to be the way to do it. Okay, Waldes agrees. I'm going to go for it. No reason to insert knight check because we have to deal with this. Okay, king g8 just seems unnecessarily messy. Knight takes knight with check, so we have to take. All right, that was it. We were winning there. Okay, endgame, equal material. Rook's attacked. That pawn's attacked, though. Do we go for some sort of sneaky quick promotion? Pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Rook takes pawn. Is there a follow-up? We also have rook check. This is going to be a 2600 puzzle. This must be winning. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Rook a3 idea. So if we take, rook takes rook a3. They can't take because we skewer them. And what we're going to do is we're going to promote, or we're going to maybe check first. I guess I don't know the exact follow-up, but this looks super strong. Take, rook a3. Like, what if white doesn't do any? Like, if white goes for the a pawn? that point, we could promote. They take. Check. Oh, they could come this way. Take. Take. Rook h3, a4. Rook h1. Okay. Nice idea, Vivek. Then they take. Check. King moves. Take the rook. So that rook h1 move is forcing them to take. And I think here we still do it. It's the same idea. Rook h1, we're going to promote, so they have to take our pawn. Nice work, Vivek. Okay, we have a bishop and 2 pawns for a rook. Their king is tied down to their rook. This is a very odd-looking puzzle to me. It's apparent that we want to push the g-pawn. There's no way to deflect their king. King h. So king h3, king f2. We have 4 options for our king if we want to do a king move here. This is the only move that guards our bishop and ushers this pawn. It allows king h4, but I don't think we care too much about that. King f2. Walda says don't do that because if rook takes g4, bishop takes, king takes. Well, I think that's winning, Walda's, because our king is going to run over here, and we have 2 pawns. I think we're okay with that sack, but it's something we definitely have to look at. Can white sack as a drawing technique? I think we have to go. Well, maybe not. I was going to say, I think we have to go king f2 and try to usher that pawn in quickly, but there's not really a rush. It's just sort of like a zugzwang if we don't. Because our bishop is tied down to the defense of the pawn, and we have to keep the bishop defended. So if we play this way, for example, a4, we can't push because of takes. And if we move this bishop away, there could be like rook down here trying to create counterplay or harass our bishop. King f2, what do we think? I sort of think we just play this. It looks to me like the best move. Okay, a couple people agree. Julio and Waldez. Rook comes out. Okay, our pawn is defended by the bish. I think we just go g3. How does white stop our pawn? If check, we can block with the bishop. Push. G2. Check, we have bishop block. G2. Nice. Okay, 50. We're at 50. Oh, come on. Rook takes g3 check. That has to be it, right? queen. Okay. Queen's hanging. Back rank mate's in the air. We have rook takes g3 check. I mean, that looks like a forced mate. Yeah, Waldes says easy. So if rook takes, pawn takes, we have mate on h2. And if rook takes king over, we have queen f3. That's also a mate. That's a 2740 puzzle. Nice. All right, this one looks like a skewer to me. Some sort of, I'm just looking for the checks first. Like these are the two obvious checks. This one, though, I feel like black has a couple good options. Well, probably here. But the rook coming down here looks deadly with queen d8. Vivek says rook f8. Yeah. Here, take, check, winning the queen. Abhay Pandey, welcome to the chat, says, now it's clear you are cheating. Rook f8. Okay, Vivek agrees. Waldes agrees. All right, we got it. Jackie agrees. 52. So this one's an endgame puzzle. We're down. What are we down here? 2 pawns? Yeah, down 2 pawns. White, neither side's castled. Their queen is almost trapped. Is this some sort of queen trap puzzle? Queen b5 prevents their castling. Bishop b4 check. Could create problems. If we had 2 moves, if we had 2 moves, queen c6 and rook a8 traps the queen. And queen c6 hits the loose bishop. Walda says the same thing in the chat. Vivek agrees. Okay. We're going a little faster. We're cruising on these puzzles now. That was a 2800. All right, this one is close to a back ranker. I think I see the idea. Looks like a forced mate combo. I'm watching the chat. One, two, three. I think it's a mate in 4 by force. All checks. Don't see any way out for white. Waldes says queen sack. Can you be more specific, Waldes? Queen sack? On e1. Okay. So queen e1. Knight takes. Rook takes. They have to go over. Rook check. They have to go back. And then the other rook is checkmate. All forced. White only has... Oh, I moved too quick. I moved too quick. That was a blunder on my part. Take here. Take. The knight's there. Okay, Vivek has a really long line. Rook takes f2, king takes f2. Oh, that was for move number 1. Okay, but now we have a mate in 2. If takes, rook e1's not mate because they can take the rook. But we have a mate in 2 here. Vivek, that's like your first error of the stream. That's okay. looks like we can take with the other rook. A little different than you're used to because we're so focused on that second rank and the help of the bishop on e4. But I think we just take with the other rook and then mate. There was an over-the-board classical game I had where I took with the wrong rook. Taking with one rook was a win, and when the other rook was a draw. And I had it all calculated out, a little bit of time pressure, and it was the same thing as this. Had I just taken a moment and recalculated, I would have probably found the correct rook, within 30 seconds. But in my mind, I wanted to snap off these moves in a time pressure battle and took with the rook I had calculated, which was the wrong rook, is the one I took with. So it was a draw. All right, we're probably in the 2,900 range now. Material is, we're down a pawn. That pawn's very strong. This knight is hanging, which also defends this knight. I mean, that just looks good, doesn't it? Pawn takes knight. Abhay Pandey, were you thinking that we were solving the puzzles too quickly? B takes c6, b5 is tricky. B takes c6, b5. That looks better than, well, I don't know, actually. I was going to say that looks better than taking this. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, we can rule this out because of rook takes knight, takes, and then there's a fork. So we can't take this pawn due to rook takes knight. We can't move our rook due to promote. Process of elimination, it has to be pawn takes knight. We have to take this. And then if the b pawn pushes knight e7, guarding our c pawn. I think we're up a piece there. Because we cannot allow this capture. So Julio is saying maybe knight f4 hitting the rook. I think that's bad because of pawn takes pawn. We take the rook and then c7. And these pawns are unstoppable. Abhay, I don't play FIDE rated games very often. So I think my FIDE rating is around 2000. USC, I'm a US player, so USCF, it's around 2200. Yeah, I think it's 97 here. I'm almost positive it's 97. They can't push the B pawn. We're ready to recapture on C. We're ready to take their pawn. Our king can come defend the knight if needed. So if here, are they gonna play there? Maybe. We could still actually go back 97, guarding this square. All right, 55. This is actually my record, 55, and we only have one strike. I don't know if the puzzles are easier now than they used to be, though, because it was probably years ago that I hit 55. So what do we do here? Down a rook for 2 pawns. Queen f2 threatens a mate. It actually threatens 2 mates. Queen f2 threatens the bishop mate and the queen mate. That looks really strong. That looks really, really strong. Queen f2. And if queen g1, we could take f3, and that's going to be a mate on the next move. Okay, Walda says queen f2. I'm going to go with it. Oh. See you, Julio. Vivek is saying didn't like rook e8 check because it forces the queen trade. Vivek, we could play king f7. Look at that. Check, here, king f7. And if check, bishop takes. Because I agree with you, we don't really want this queen trade. We go here and just keep our mate threat. There's no other checks, really. I think we just keep avoiding that. Avoid the queen trade. And now they gave us the free queen. Okay. 56. All right, I know the puzzles are getting higher rated, but we're over 2 hours in, so I think we should try to be kind of quick on the puzzles. Let's try to go a little bit quicker. Smothered mate, Waldes is saying. Or smothered mate. I'm not sure what smothered mate is, Waldes. Knight. So knight c7 check. King over. The rook hangs, but our queen hangs. I'm just teasing you, Waldes. Let's see. Knight c7 check, king over. Maybe we don't have to play knight c7 check. Waldes, what line are you looking at? Knight e6 checkmate. Oh, saw queen on a5. Got it. I think it has to be knight c7 check. Unless they're just, the puzzle's high rated because it's baiting us into that. Knight c7, king d8. Maybe that's the problem. But if that's not the answer, then what do we go for here? Oh, bishop takes a7? Could that be the answer? They could take our knight. We take back with check. They block with queen. Bishop b6 right away. They could take our knight. Oh, I like that, Vivek. Okay, Vivek is saying knight c7, check, king d8, queen a5, setting up the discovered attack. Yep, and threatening the rook in the corner. I think that's it. I'm going to go with it. So now I assume we go bishop takes pawn. We take the rook, they get our knight. If we take here, we still have the discovered check, which threatens to win a queen and the rook cleanly. So now, oh, okay. So we have the double check, king over, and the smothered mate idea fails to queen takes. But this should just win the queen. Yeah, Waldes with the smothered mate idea. Nice work. Good job. Good job, team. Okay, this is a weird one. We could take G7, trapping their rook in the corner. They have no good checks. I think that's the answer. If we push F7, their queen's going to take it. I don't see anything else. I don't think it's knight F3 trying to trap the queen because they'll just take our F pawn. Do we agree? F takes G7? I don't see why that would be bad. Yes, okay. All right, they're still not threatening any checks. I think we just take the rook, right? Oh, queen d4, Vivek is saying. Walda's queen d4. So if we take the rook, we're getting a rook for the pawn. But queen d4 forces a queen trade, and then we'll get a queen. We win a queen. Nice. Queen d4, really nice find. Okay, we're in check. We're threatening a back rank mate. We're in check. We're threatening a back rank mate. We're in check. We're threatening a back rank. Our bishop guards c7. And white wants to play rook f8, trying to block the mate. So I think king e7 looks good. Now, so if king d7, I think this is the problem. Because even though we could go for this line, check, here, deflect, here, yeah, we're not winning any material there. I was going to say white still has A and B passers. So I think it comes down to one of these two moves. But king f7 allows them to sacrifice the whole knight, knowing that they still have 4 pawns for our bishop. Whereas that's so that's king f7. But king e7, I don't see any distractions even. I think we're just mating them. Okay, king e7. Slight distraction. Slight distraction. But we won a lot of material. What do we do here? It's a weird position for a puzzle. This is hanging. If their queen wasn't here, this would be really tempting, threatening mate and their bishop. Yeah, Vivek, that was a funny perpetual. Jackie is saying queen c4. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking at. But we're not really threatening a mate, are we? Oh, okay. I don't know if this is what you were thinking, Jackie, but if it is, I think that's right. Queen c4. So let's just say this bishop moves. Take the knight, for example. I think we have bishop to b6 there, cutting off the queen from the defense of c7 and threatening queen c7 mate, defended by both bishop and knight. Queen here takes bishop b6. Our rook helps defend our knight, so if they take with queen, well, if they take with queen, we still have mate. Walda says brutal. Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Okay, they're still going. Nice. 60. I don't think we've seen an interference tactic. Maybe we had one other one. Our rook is behind their king. This is a mating net. My feeling is it's queen here, because if they run towards our rook, it's mate. Something like, yeah, Waldes likes this. Here, check, here. Rook check, here. Queen check, here. Check, here, check, here. We do have queen check. Okay, we can start, because it has to probably be. Well, it doesn't have to be. I'm very confident in queen d4 check, though. Pawn check, king over. I don't see a great move. Jason. Okay, so do we go queen d5 check? King over. Or is there some way we can cut him off? This is interesting. If they block with queen, we do have rook check. If they go back, we have this check, kind of forcing him over to our other attackers. And then looking close to mate. Like check here, 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 here. And they're running towards our king. I don't know. Or is this cleaner? Go this way. It feels like it should be rook check here. Oh. Okay, and then queen this way, check here. Check here. Check here. Mate? Thoughts? Check here. Check here. Check. So we're kind of doing a queen rook roller, like on the ranks. Here. Check. Here. Check. Either here or here. Here. Mate. Do we agree? Vivek agrees. Okay, now let's make sure I don't mess it up. Check. So this is the one where I was really tempted to do this check. Because that's like a common theme when you have queen and rook spaced out with a square in between. You keep kind of switching them off. But we're breaking that trend. And we're going for this. Like queen guards there, rook guards here, queen guards here. Did I do it wrong? Or did we miscalculate? Oh boy. B4 maybe. All right. Well, I'm starting to run low on time. So maybe it's okay that we lost one. We're already doing good. 60 points. What do we think on this one? I'm thinking knight here, threatening the mate in 1. Knight d3, threatening queen f2, mate. And their rook in the corner on c1. Let's go with it. Walda says, looks pretty. Okay, they played rook c2. Now we do have queen here check. And queen here check. We're down a rook. So if we win a rook back, well, we're down a rook. We do have a pawn for it. So if we win a rook back plus a little material, I think we're good. Here, check, king over. You might be right, Vivek. Could it be a draw puzzle? Yeah, it could be. I think you're right. Let's go with this check. King over. This check. King out. This check. Yeah, I think we just keep checking. Oh, Walda is coming in with knight f4 threatening mate. Walda's. Genius. What a move. Nice find, Walda's. Okay, cool. 61. Queen g3 looks like the obvious move. King takes pawn, though. And then we need a Walda's move. Jackie says queen g3. King takes pawn. If rook h1. The king goes back. Three. Ooh, queen f4. What do you think of queen g3? King takes pawn, queen f4. If they retreat, we have mate. And if they push, we do something like check and rook over to continue the attack. That looks pretty good. I think it's got to be queen g3 and queen f4. Oh, okay. That's all right. I was running out of time. Let's look at the ones we got wrong quick. I think we can easily do this, right? Just clicking on it. That was a good run, though, guys. Really good run. Okay, so in this, what did we say for this puzzle? Queen check. Bishop check. Queen takes knight. Check. Okay, this is where we were thinking queen takes rook was the solution. But it wasn't queen takes rook. Queen takes here is sort of a free check, but that one looked like perpetual. King g1, queen back check, king goes back. This is the way I think to try to win material and the rook still. Win extra material. Unless it's going to be something like leave that rook in the corner, check here and bring a rook over. That could be pretty deadly. Like go for a checkmate instead of taking the rook. Why are they doing that? Bring their queen back? Oh yeah, we did look at this line. Yeah, that's right. G3. And we were thinking queen f2 and they block with queen. That's why we didn't go into this line. So what do we do here? Okay, Vivek, we'll look at that. What do we do here? Queen f2? I mean, are we just winning the exchange? Queen f2, block, take, bishop d5, check. Okay, maybe that's all it is. We were trying to win the rook in the corner. Put this in analysis mode. Sorry, it's making the screen a little off, but queen takes rook. Queen c6, bishop black. Knight c3, opening their rook up, defended by the king. Knight e4 check. White's winning this position. King e7, they take your check. King f7, knight g5 check. Okay. That's crazy. Next puzzle we got wrong was this one. We did check, 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 check. And here we did this check. Pawn could block. So then we were thinking, well, is it queen b4 check? Yeah, queen b4 check is cleaner. Here, and then check, and then mate. Yep. Oh, that wasn't too hard. It was just so many moves down the path. And we needed to stop and recalculate. All right, last puzzle. What did we do here? So we had, I'm trying to remember, queen g3. Oh, there we go. Queen g3. And then this was wrong. So Vivek was saying queen h4, king g7. Queen f6. King back to h6. Oops. Rook h1. Rook h5. I think this is right. Oh, they're blocking with rook. So now the queen f4 check looks good. With a lot of forced mates. Like if here, check and the rook blocks, there's no escape. Oh, yeah. Very nice. So if we go queen f4 here, g5 was the problem. I just kind of assumed that we had enough here to attack, but that's a bad assumption. There's not going to be enough. This is kind of the crazy line to get out of it. Because somehow we are running out of checks. Okay. Yeah, still had to be precise. All right, I think we are about to wrap up 2.5, little over 2.5 hours in. Thanks everyone for watching. Any general chess questions or chess goals questions that I can help with before we end? Otherwise, I think we will wrap up there. Thank you, Waldez. Thanks for your help. 61. That was a really good score. Thanks, Vivek. Good solutions too. Thanks, Jackie. Boy's Life coming in with the very first comment, I think. Thanks for watching. All right. I think we're going to wrap up there. Have a good rest of your day, everyone.